Hello again, fellow friends, and welcome back to this. I just threw my arms up as if I was on video, but I'm not on video, so let's just carry on. Let's get some appropriate music, shall we? There we go. Now, for those of you that don't know, Final Fantasy XV was a great game. It had some issues, but it was a great game. And along the way, one of the four characters that were traveling with you on your journey was called Prompto, and he would take pictures at random. And then whenever you went to sleep at a hotel or set up camp for the night, you would go through the photos he took that day, usually around about 10 photos, and then you would be able to pick whichever photos you wanted. And a lot of the time, you'd see photos that were taken, and you're like, I don't remember that, because you don't see him take all the photos. It just kind of happens. Like, sometimes you'll see him take photos, but a lot of the photos he takes just sort of show up in his camera feed or whatever. Anyway, you get to keep photos, and I think they let you keep up to 200 of them. And he took a lot of photos. This is basically, once I finished the game, I recorded footage of me going through all my photos, and these are all of my photos that I kept from Final Fantasy XV, and I'm just going to go through them with you now. It's very timely. It's only about 2 years after I finished the game, but let's do this. So the first image. Alright, hold on. I've got it in big in it. There we go. Now I've got to be very careful where I put the cursor, because if I put it to the left or the right, it comes up with this rubbish, and if I put it up to the top, it does that, and if I put it down to the bottom, it does that, and I don't want any of that. So I'll just really carefully put it in the corner like a champ. There! Oh no, I nearly had it. Come on, fuck off. I just don't want it on screen. You know what, that'll do. That will do! So, this is Cindy. She's a girl you meet very early on in the story. She's the mechanic that fixes up your car, and everyone loves Cindy, and it's easy to see why. But also her wildly, I don't know if it's authentic or offensive, but her wildly something Southern American accent. She's like, "Hey y'all, how's it going, darling?" Like, I don't know if it's accurate or offensive, but she has it. Yeah, that's Cindy. Everyone loves Cindy. Ah yes, this was the first time I set up camp. I was like, this will be a good photo to keep. Setting up camp is very important because it's kind of like in Oblivion. You can only level up if you sleep. So with this game, you don't have to sleep. There's no tiredness meter or anything. I actually, one of my more viewed videos is called "What Happens When You Go 2 Weeks Without Sleeping Final Fantasy XV," because I went 2 in-game weeks without sleeping or resting, and my guy's clothes were dirty and everything. And then I had loads of experience to tally up, so I just tallied it all up. But yeah, camping is awesome on this game because you can cook meals and things, and cooking meals is where you hear this awesome tune that you hear right now. And by cooking meals, I mean you choose a meal, and then Ignis will cook it. And he does his famous, I've come up with a new recipe. No, he doesn't. That's what he does when he comes up with a new recipe. What does he do when you choose a meal? Oh yeah, he just sort of like nods and clicks his finger like that. Anyway, Final Fantasy XV is full of charm, and it's like, if you watch someone play it, or you watch a review of it or something, it doesn't get that across. On the face of it, it doesn't look like that compelling a game. But I found quite early on that it really is about the camaraderie between Noctis, as you see here, and his 3 comrades, as they go on this road trip, basically, from Insomnia to Altissia, I think? It's been a while. The story is a bit hit and miss, and also the story was cut up out of the game and put into different medias, but that'll be a video coming up soon. I'm going to talk about that shit. Don't get me started about how I think the story should be in the game, but I digress. So this was the first campsite, and I thought that was a nice picture to keep, because I figured there would be many more campsite visits to come, and there were. Okay, interesting how I got these 2 pictures before this one, considering this one is from the very opening scene of the game. I don't know why it's after these 2, but whatever. Maybe they're not all going to be in order. So this one is from the very opening scene of the game. There's going to be spoilers, of course, so if you haven't played Final Fantasy XV, and you want to, I guess don't watch this. But this was at the very beginning of the game. The car broke down, so you had to push the car, and it had this really awful cover of Stand By Me, which is horrible for 2 reasons. Number one, it's sung by Florence and the Machine, and I'm sorry, I cannot stand Florence and the Machine. I can't stand Florence's scream singing. I don't like it. Her voice just goes through me like a fucking something that causes me deep pain. I don't like her. Or her voice, should I say. I don't know her. I don't like her voice. Can't stand it. So they did that. But also, it was a real world band instead of just like a tune made by some composer, which that sounds weird, but I mean, obviously real-world composers are still composers, but if it's a real famous band, like Florence and the Machine, that are instantly recognizable as a well-known famous band, it instantly pulls you out of the fantasy, because it's not meant to be set on fucking Earth. It's not on Earth. None of the Final Fantasy games are on Earth. Why did it have a band from Earth singing a song from Earth? Stand By Me, a well-known famous song from Earth. Like, I can only assume that because the game was in development hell, they needed all the money they could get, so they said, hey, if someone wants to sing a song for us and pay to have it in our game, we're okay with that. So, you know, it's probably a business decision, but that did not get me off to the perfect start of this game when I played it, and I heard that, and I was like, oh, this is awful. And it goes on for a little while, because you have to push that car, which is broken down, so that's the beginning of the game. And then this was us when we got the car fixed by Cindy, of course. It's a pretty okay car. You can put fancy decals and stuff on it. As you can see, the boys are from Insomnia, and in Insomnia, apparently black is the only colour people wear. Apparently. This was us. We stopped off at a diner somewhere, and we found a pinball machine called Justice Monsters 5. And the pinball machine game was garbage. It was not fun, but finding the thing was fun, because you hear Noctis say to his friends, he's like, hey, oh cool, look at this, and like, you know, they have a little fun play about, you know, like as you would if you were boys on a road trip, you know? It's all about just the boys on their road trip. That's what I liked so much about it, the way they interact, the way their relationships grow, the things they see. So yeah, pinball machine, game rubbish, but moment good. Noctis and Gladio, this is when we arrived at Galden Key, which, as you can see, is a nice, cheap place to stay. But it's beautiful. I was going to use the music from Galden Key for this video, but I thought, fuck it. I'll go for the superior cooking music. So yeah, Galden Key, very nice, calm and peaceful, and that's where you meet this guy. The world's most obvious, I'm the obvious villain, and yet people are going to be shocked later on in the story when I turn out to be a villain. It's like, he's so obviously a villain. Every time he opens his mouth, he's a villain. You're like, well, he's got an English accent, so immediately he's probably a villain? That was my thought. Yeah, he's an interesting character to hear talk. Some of the pictures you'll see here are like scripted pictures, so everyone gets them, and this is one of them. There's another one later on where you get Ramu, the lightning guardian or whatever, and there's this cool lightning where Noctis' eyes are like lighting up pink. Sorry. A cool photo where Noctis' eyes are lighting up pink when there's pink lightning all around him. And I kept seeing people posting that picture on the Final Fantasy 15 subreddit. They were like, hey, look at this cool picture I got. And then everyone was always like, sorry dude, everyone gets that picture. And this is one of them. This is also one of them. This giant bloody beast bird thing, yeah, believe it or not, it does have 4 wings. You are looking at that correctly. It reminds me of those aliens from, what's that film? Explorers? Remember the 80s film Explorers with those 3 kids, and they had this little spaceship, and they like, because there's this scientist kid who figures out how to create a bubble that can move and stuff. Anyway, the aliens on the spaceship with the ears, this always reminds me of that. So you got a bird thing, 2 wings, and then 2 bigger wings, and the music that plays when you first encounter this thing, and the scale of it. I love games that make you feel small and insignificant, and this game does it well, because some of the monsters are huge, as you'll see later. But yeah, I was like, luckily I didn't have to fight that thing the first thing I saw it, I just had to sneak past it, but then it woke up and it flies off. But you bet your ass I came back later in the game and kicked its butt. Like, proper whooped it. I was like, oh, you're easy, dead. Ah yes, Dave. Looking rather mundane for a Final Fantasy character, I know. But yeah, Dave, I think he's a leader of the Monster Hunters or something. I kept having to speak to him because he was like, oh man, some of my Monster Hunters are shit and they haven't come back yet. Go prove to them what a real Monster Hunter is. And I'm like, will do. So yeah, I saw Dave a few times. He was always like, hey, give me those dog tags of those people that you found. And I'm like, here you go. Yeah, so this is Sid. This is Cindy's grandpa. Oh, sorry, Pa, as she calls him, because obviously she's got that quaint southern accent. This is him looking at a weapon that I've got, and he's going, yeah, I think I can fix it. Think I can upgrade the fuck out of that shit. Because he upgrades your weapons pretty well. Shit graphics for this game, innit, though? Shit graphics. Look at all the wrinkles on his face. Yeah, so Sid's cool. There's always a Sid in Final Fantasy games. There's a bunch of things that return in Final Fantasy games, because they're all set in different worlds, but there's a bunch of things that usually return. There's usually chocobos and cactuars and tonberries and other enemies like that. But there's almost always a character called Sid. And there's usually a trio of characters called Mindy, Cindy, and Sandy. So Cindy in this is obviously a reference to Cindy's in other games, and this is Sid. There's always a Sid in a Final Fantasy game. They be crazy like that. Yes, this is us trying to sneak past a behemoth, and he's like, I know you're there, human. I'm looking at you right now. Behemoths are, as you may guess by the name and this picture, fucking hench. Like, they are giant. And this was the first time I had to sneak past one, and I don't think you can sneak past him, because then he goes, roar, and then you kill him, and he's actually not that tough. But they are beastly beasts. Look at them. I see you. Oh, man. So this was us taking a picture at a beautiful shot at Galden Key. So obviously you've got the key down there. Way off in the background, there's that weird island thing. And for the you can see that through most of the game. You can just see it way off in the distance, and you're like, what is that? That is a crazy structure. What is that? And I think you end up going there, and I think, because it's been a while, and the story wasn't particularly present in Final Fantasy 15, the game, but I think it's where the, what do they call them in this game? Espers? Titans? What do they call them? I can't remember what they call them. The gods. There's always like god beings that you can usually summon during battle. And there's usually returning ones of those, like there's Ifrit and Quetzalcoatl and Diablos and things like that. These ones usually sort of show up. Maybe not Diablos, maybe Leviathan. And I think that in the background was the result of when Ifrit, or as they call him in this game, Ifrit, but I will always call him Ifrit, because that's what I've always called him, the fire god, fighting Shiva, the ice god, I think? Or maybe he was fighting Bahamut? Anyway, they fought, and that was the result, I think. I'm like the world's worst tour guide. I'm like, no, I'm not sure what happened over here, but I think I remember reading something once. Oh man, and then we had to stop off for a bit of fishing, because I mean, I don't like fishing in video games. It's almost as boring as I imagine real fishing is. But this game, I remember doing the fishing in this game, and I was like, this isn't truly awful. I mean, the fishing in Red Dead Redemption 2, it's not good. Like, it's unpleasant. It's annoying. The line like snaps all the time when you get to a certain level of fish, and it was just, oh, it was annoying. But with this game, you just turn up and you're basically like, right, press a button and then start fishing. And it didn't have like with Red Dead Redemption 2, when you want to reel the fish in, you've got to like waggle the analog stick round, and that's a really awkward motion to do for a long time, and it fucking hurts after a while. It's like, man, that's really annoying. And I can't remember how you reel stuff in on this game, but I don't remember it being that annoying move the analog stick around bullshit that they had in Red Dead. But yeah, the fishing in this game, not too bad. As far as fishing goes in games, not too bad. So, as you can see, I dressed down a little bit for the casual. I wore the casual outfit for a little while. And, yeah, did some fishing. Ah, yes. All of the boys in their casual attire. This was us taking a picture outside, I think it's called Longwith Peak, or Longwith Peak. And this picture was taken before I knew that that mountain is the shell, or should I say, what you see there is the tip of the mountain that is the shell of an Adamantoise. And Adamantoises are another returning enemy in Final Fantasy games. Normally they're pretty big. In this game, oh, it's probably I can't think of a video game enemy I fought that is bigger. I can't. I really can't. It's a fucking mountain. The shell of this Adamantoise is a mountain. Like, its leg, I mean, it's basically a giant turtle, right? And its head is about 3 or 4 stories tall. Like, it is a ginormous boss, and I don't think you can fight it until you've beaten the story. But I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Again, world's worst tour guide. But yeah, this was long before I realized that that shell was, that mountain was attached to a creature. Ah, yes, this is a beautiful picture for several reasons. Number one, I do like Noctis in his casual attire. It looks good. There's some good depth of focus here. You see Taka in the background. He's just out of focus because he's not the focal point of the shot, but he's important to the locale, so it's a good job he's there. And this is basically Taka's diner, which is next to Cindy's garage, or Sid's garage. And this is where you start off getting your monster hunts from. So you go in, you speak to him, and he's like, hey, here's a new monster hunt, and then you go off and kill it. And man, I wish they would have just let you pick up all of them. Like, if he had 5, you're like, okay, I'll pick up all 5 of these, and then I'll go kill all 5, and then come back. But they don't do it like that. You got to pick one up, and then go kill it, and then come back, and then pick another one up, and then go kill it, and then come back, and so on. So I saw Taka quite a bit. He was a good old boy. I bought some good food from him. Next. Yes, so this was like, sometimes Prompto will take shots, take photos in battle. It's not unheard of. One of his abilities you can give him, which uses like one of his special meters, is you can trigger him to take a picture mid-combat whenever you want. Of course, the downside is you kind of have to time it, because it's not like you tell him to do it and then it would just go boom and take a picture. You tell him to do it and then he would do like, okay, and he'd like move into position and then dodge an enemy and then pull his camera out. So if you're trying to get like a shot of this big enemy about to like do this massive like attack on you, you've got to tell him to do a picture at least 3 seconds beforehand. But sometimes you end up with really weird ass shots like this. Like I can't remember the name of this monster, but it's like a weird dog thing. But look at that tongue. What's it doing? That thing is having the time of its life, mate. It really is. This is outside Galden Key again. We stayed the night in a caravan, I think, or did we set up camp? I can't remember. But when we woke up in the morning, Gladio was like, "Hey, you know, Noctis, you're the king now because your father's dead." Spoilers. You know, it kind of happened off screen in that animated film that they sold on the side. But fuck it, you know, it's not important. You don't need to know about it. It's only your father of the main. It's only the father of the main character and the hometown, the birthplace of the main character. In fact, all of the main characters, the four guys, the birthplace of all of these guys being absolutely destroyed by an opposing military force. We don't need to explain that in the story of the game. Why would we, when we can charge people money to go buy an animated feature film which contains all that information, which should have been in the goddamn game. But anyway, Gladio was like, "Hey Noctis, you're the king now, so like, you know, it's my, like, I'm sworn to protect you. You know, we're the king's glaive. You know, we got to look after our king, and you know, I can't be letting you get chubby, boys. So let's get some beach running on the case." So we did some beach running, and this was a picture that Prompto took, I guess, and that's the story behind that picture. Ah, yes. So this was us. What do they call it? It was the step or the plate, something like that. Because you see this structure in the background coming a mile off before you get there as well, like all this weird crystal stuff. And it turns out, pardon me, it turns out that there's one of those gods is in there called Titan. It's the first one you get, and I only ever saw it get summoned. I mean, the way the Titans were dealt with in this, like, I keep calling them Titans, I shouldn't. I don't know what they're called in this game. I'm just going to call them, Celestials. I think they were called Celestials. Anyway, whatever. They're pretty lame in this game, because it's good and bad, because they only come at certain times, like basically when they feel the time is right, which is good, because it's like, that's how you'd expect a god to be, you know? You wouldn't expect to just be able to control a god and summon it wherever you want. Like, it turns up in your time of need, sort of thing. And that's what they do. However, what they don't explain is that there's very specific circumstances that have to be met before each one will turn up. And the lightning one, Ramu, he turned up 99% of the time when one could turn up. The Titan, I think I got the Titan first, and I think I saw it turn up once. Because every time it's time to summon a Celestial, the screen goes dark and you can hear the music, and that's when you have to hold L2, I think. And you keep it held until the guy comes up, and then the Celestial turns up, and they show you this awesome cinematic. And I think I only saw that happen with Titan once, because I think you have to be in a really wide open space, and even though I was in some wide open spaces, it didn't really work. So 99% of the time it was the lightning god, which kind of sucked, because I like having more control over who you can summon, but it didn't really matter, because no matter which one turned up, they devastated. Anyway, in that crater behind us is where Titan is, and I think, again, World's Greatest Tour Guide, I think someone defeated him by casting a meteor on him, and that's what all the stuff sticking out vertically on the right hand side is. I think that's the trail of the meteor crystallized on top of Titan. Anyway, you go there, Titan wakes up, and he's like, "Who are you?" And you're like, "I'm King Noctis." And he goes, "I will test you." And then you start attacking this Titan, and then he goes, "Okay, I'll be your friend. I'll turn up when you need me. Lol JK, it's gonna be the lightning guy most of the time." Next picture. Yes, when we got to, I want to say, Lestalem, that's the name. This was the first time we got to Lestalem. It was a nice cool evening with the summer glow of the lights. I know it doesn't make sense, but you can see it, so I don't know why I'm trying to describe it to you. And look, it's just the boys having fun. We turned up. Presumably they went to a pub. I don't fucking know. But yeah, fun times. Ah yes, these two guys. Now I can't remember their names. I think one of them is called Talcott. And I remember thinking for the longest time, yeah, I think one was called Talcott, which is a weird name, and then one was just a normal name, like Jerry or something. And I remember thinking that Talcott was the old man, because that sounds like an old man's name, but it's not. I think it's the young boy, but I don't know. They were just two guys. I think they were refugees from Insomnia, which is the city where the king and his boys came from, except these guys aren't wearing all black, so maybe not. I don't know. The story is a bit hit and miss. As in, not really told very well. This is Gladio's sister. She was pretty cute and adorable. She would turn up every now and then and snap a few pictures and stuff. She's just like standard Japanese schoolgirl, I guess, but not so much screaming and whining, because I know they do a lot of that. As in media, not in real life. I don't know any Japanese schoolgirls in real life. Anyway, that's Iris, Gladio's sister. Yeah, the fat American guy. This guy was obviously some sort of American tourist mockery. And you speak to him and he's like, hey, you know, I work for this travel agents magazine. If you could get me some photos of these places, I'd sure, you know, be appreciative. So then you basically just go and take pictures of things. And he's like, great, okay, here's another one. So he's that guy. So I saw him a bunch. This is just a cool picture. I like it. I like the bloom with the light coming off his shirt. I like the depth of field. I'm a fan of a shallow depth of field. I really am. And that car in the background. I mean, this just looks like a picture that could have been taken from Rio or something like that in the 50s. You know, minus the clothes and stuff. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. I like that picture. Here's another one featuring Noctis in his casual outfit. I was wearing the casual outfit for a long time. I can't remember the name of this place, but this was a big wide open place that I spent quite a bit of time in. And I grinded against a lot of enemies here. Gotta get that. Oh no, I did a lot of hunts, that's what I did, which is basically the same thing. Did a lot of hunts. Yes, this was a weird moment. Noctis and Prompto go down to the water and they try and get one of these creatures to come up close so they can take a picture. Apparently they're harmless. And when I first saw them, I thought this was the Adamantoise, because it looks like the Adamantoise from Final Fantasy 13. But it's not. And I was like, okay then, what's the name of this? And then Prompto calls it a Catoblepas. And I was like, Catoblepas? Why does that sound familiar but wrong at the same time? And then I realised, oh, it's because in other Final Fantasy games, there was a monster called Catoblepas, or at least that's how I pronounced it, because how the fuck are you supposed to pronounce the word C-A-T-O-B-L-E-P-A-S? Catoblepas. So I called it a Catoblepas. Or a Catoblepas, is what I always called it. But according to Prompto in this game, it's Catoblepas. What a dumb fucking name. But that's a Catoblepas, and you get to like do a different pose or whatever. I don't fucking know. So there we go. I struck a pose looking like some sort of edgelord. Diddle-oo. On to the next picture. Ah, yes. Outside one of the motel hotels, with the old the crow guy on the right. What's his name? Eddie the Crow? I don't know. But there's loads of these sort of diner places around, and they're all like one franchise, and it's this crow guy. There's a weapon shop behind him. I remember looking in the weapon shops a little bit at the beginning, but then I kind of stopped, because every time I looked, they just had garbage that was worse than what I already had. So I just said, why am I still looking here for weapons? And then there's a bounty board. It looks like, oh no, it's a tourist information board in between the weapon shop and the crow guy. Ah, yes. Now this picture. We were inside an ice cave, as you can tell, and Prompto decided to snap a picture. Obviously, like, I didn't see this happen, but when I went through the pictures at the end of the day, or the next time I slept at a camp, I saw this picture and I was like, that's so dumb. It's like he forgot to turn the flash on. And I like it, because it really... I mean, you can't really see their faces, but it shows the environment quite well, because it was dark in there, but it's still... You can still tell where it is, and I'm just... looking at this now, I'm just waiting for Sub-Zero to just do an uppercut on someone and knock him against those ice spikes. Frosty! Ah yes, Ardyn doing his I'm not really the bad guy, or am I routine. That's when he goes, hey, let's go down to the plate down there. You know, I heard there's some sort of creature down there. That's it, yeah, because if you try and go follow the road down to the center of that crater, there's like guards there at some point, and they stop your progress. But then you go with him in his dinky little car, and he gets you access in there, and then basically leaves you there to fight a god. No big deal. You can trust me, I'm the bad guy. And this is Titan. I think this is when we defeated him, or not, I can't tell. But that's Titan. It's the only picture that Prompto got of him. If you want to see more, you can Google it or whatever. Pardon me. This was a sweet-ass action shot. I don't know what we're fighting here, but whatever we're fighting, Noctis is about to fuck it the fuck up, because he's like dual-wielding spears, and he's about to come down hard on something. I don't know what, though, because the only thing I can see that kind of looks like an enemy is that thing on the right-hand side, and that's way too far away from Noctis for him to connect. So I don't know what's about to happen, other than he's about to end some communication with those spears. This is that awesome picture I told you about with all the purple lightning and stuff. This is the picture that gets taken when you get the lightning celestial. And this picture's so awesome. This is the one people would post to Reddit going, hey, look at this cool picture Prompto got. And then everyone's like, sorry, everyone's got that. Don't mean to burst your bubble. Also, this is a good time to point out, shortly after Final Fantasy 15 came out, obviously there was already a Final Fantasy 15 subreddit, someone made a new subreddit where specifically for people to show off the different pictures and things that Prompto had taken. And if that sub still exists, I'll probably post this video there. That sounds about right. Anyway, I love the name of it. It's called Promptography. How cute is that? Because he's Prompto, and he takes photographs. Promptography? Mate, that's the kind of wordplay I can get behind. Yes. So, some sort of weird explosion was happening. However, there's some strange woman sat on the grass there. Now, if memory serves, I went the longest time not knowing who the hell she was. And I just chalked it. I genuinely didn't know if that's because she hadn't been introduced to me yet, or if the game storytelling was just really that bad because they cut out most of the story and character building and stuck it in other media. I still don't know to this day, but I believe she turns up every now and then in a picture at random. You don't see her during combat, but you see her in pictures, and it's like, okay, I'll save those pictures. And it turns out she's Shiva, the ice spirit. I don't know why she's following us, and why she didn't turn into Shiva to help us when we're fighting Titan. But, you know, these things are just unknown. But the story, I find it weird when people are like, oh, I love the story of Final Fantasy 15. I'm like, really? But then again, I love the story of Final Fantasy 13, and some people don't, so... You know, whatever. For me, Final Fantasy 15 isn't about the story. It might have been if they'd put all the story in the game, but they didn't. So, for me, it was all about the camaraderie with the boys and the experience and the travel. This guy, I barely know who he is. I think he's the sister of the girl Noctis was going to marry, who I also barely know anything about, because during the game, there's a flashback scene where you see Noctis talking to Luna Freya, the girl he's said to marry, and I was like, why do I get the feeling they've known each other for a very, very long time, but we're not being shown it? And then I found out why. Because all that shit is in other media. Like, there was a demo that came out of the game, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to get the demo, because, like, I'm going to buy the game anyway. I don't want to spoil anything for me. You know what they didn't tell me? They didn't tell me that the demo was a canonical prologue, which you could no longer get. So by the time I learned that the demo, it wasn't a demo at all. It was a part of the game that happens like before the game, hence prologue, and it was canonical. And I didn't know that. And by the time I learned that, I was like, oh, I'll go get it. Can't download it. So I was like, thanks for putting all your story in your game. So yeah, there was loads of backstory between Noctis and Luna Freya. But none of it was in the game. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess like he's ill or something? I don't know. And then you see him in a wheelchair. It's like, what's going on? Anyway, as much as she's not really explained or spoken with much in the game, her brother is even less so. And he's evil, I guess. I don't know. You can tell they left all the characters that aren't the main ones didn't really leave much of an impression on me at all. Cactuar, you know I love... sorry, Cactuar, get it? Because you know I love cactuars, and, you know, once I found out you could paint the car different colours, and you could put stickers on the car, and I saw there was a Cactuar sticker, I was like, Cactuar, it's gotta be. And there's also a Cactuar sticker on the back, I think, but you can't see it. Had to be done, and then I painted it purple, because why not? I want people to see this Cactuar mobile, because it's Cactuar. This is an Iron Giant. They only come out at night, mostly. These guys were pretty tough until you progress a bit further, and then you find the Red Giants, which are mentalist versions of these. But yeah, killing these was always worth it, because it would take a little while, but it wasn't ever difficult, and it would give you quite a bit of experience. So, like, you'd be driving along the road, you know, minding your own business, and then this thing would just be in the road, and you can't, it doesn't give you the option to drive past it or into it. Your options are either slam the brakes on and go in reverse, or if you keep driving, the car just comes to a stop and then you get out, and then you're like, right, I'm killing this thing, and then driving along. Anyway, I thought this was a nice shot with the lighting, because Noctis has this, like, small light on his chest, and I thought that's pretty cool. Let's move along here. Wait, that can't be right. I need to come out of this. That can't be right at all. Jesus Christ, okay. Well, there we go. Let's carry on. I didn't think half an hour... Well, I didn't think it would take me this long. Anyway, whatever. So, I like this picture. Let's stand here. I like this picture of Iggy outside this convenience store. Again, with the depth of field and the sort of 50s looking, you know, Rio de Janeiro car style in the background. I liked it. It was very nice. There's that woman in the background again on the left, who is Shiva, I think. I got this one because I was like, what's happening here? And I think this is one of the joint attacks you can do. So Noctis summoned his spear and Gladio's throwing the spear with him attached to it. It's pretty funky. This is one of my favourite pictures because it's just the boys just happy taking a picture. This was kind of at the end of the world, as it were, because if you keep driving north, this is where the road ends, and I think it's the Monster Hunter's headquarters. So, like, I saw Dave again, and I was helping people do more hunts. So yeah, that was a nice picture. And you don't get too many pictures of the guys all together, all looking at the camera and all smiling. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Again, this is great. Look how narrow that depth of field is, because Noctis's hand is blurry, but his face is not. That is some sharp depth of field, and his hair just looks awesome. That's just a cool picture. He's like, yes, we did it. Ah, yes, the coerl or curl, or however you pronounce it. These things one-shotted me so much near the beginning of the game, because if they do this move where they, like, raise their whiskers, because as you can see, they've got ginormous whiskers. If they raise their whiskers and then they whip you with them, or they hit you with electricity from them, I can't remember, but they would just one-shot you, and I was like, god damn. But by this point in the game, I think I was okay at killing them. Of course, this is us, this is the boys gathered around a campfire at night, tucking into some delicious cup noodle, which I assume is a Japanese version of pot noodle, because I believe cup noodle is like a legit brand in real life, so I assume, again, because the development went on for so long for this game, I guess they just wanted to get some sort of product placement just to get some more cash in. I didn't mind it this time, because I didn't know that cup noodle was a real thing. I was like, oh no, that must be like pot noodle. And you can make different versions of cup noodle and stuff like that. And yeah, so this was just the boys relaxing after a day's battling and adventuring, having some cup noodle and discussing the day's events. Prompto never misses an opportunity to take a great snap. This was us on a hunt fighting a griffin, which is basically, as you can see, a tiny version of that giant four-winged bird I showed you earlier. This is a tiny version of that. And yeah, so he took a picture, it looked pretty good, so I kept it. And I think there's another one. No, there isn't. This is a great picture. Look how much fun they're having, mate. Look how much fun they are having. Someone just told a joke, and everyone's loving it. It's a shame you can't see Noctis. And I'm trying to figure out why Iggy looks like he's driving, even though he's on the back seat. But whatever, it's a great picture. Ah, yes, this snake thing, this was like a boss when you first get to it, but I was grinding it not long after that, because you kill this thing, you go around the corner. I think, actually, where that waterfall is, behind that waterfall, there's like a dungeon. In fact, I think behind that waterfall is that ice cave that there was a picture of earlier. And you go in there and you kill some stuff and you get some things, and then you come out, and then the snake's back, and you're like, okay, I'll kill you again. And then it doesn't become so hard to kill that thing. And of course, Prompto's like, I'm just going to take a picture. Now that is a red giant. You saw the Iron Giant earlier. I don't think the Red Giant is any bigger. It looks like it here. But I don't think it's any bigger. But it's definitely more devastating. And look at that sword, mate. It's just on fire. Damn, this is such a beautiful game. The lighting on this game was really good. And like I said, the scale. You know, some of these monsters make you feel small. And that is just awesome. So what have we got here? So we got... it looks like Gladio... I'm not sure what's happening there, actually. I think maybe he's launching Noctis, and Noctis is using a giant sword. I'm not entirely sure. Ah, yes. We went down into a dungeon, and I remember this dungeon being a bit tricky. I had to come back to it the next day, I think. And there was this blue dragon thing, which looks pretty sweet. I thought it was Leviathan at first, but oh no, you see Leviathan later. This is like a, well, just a, like a Gyarados, really. You know, just a blue water dragon thing. So we killed that. Not too much of a big deal. This picture confuses me. Like, I like it because, again, it's got all 4 of the guys in it, but I'm confused because Prompto's holding up 6 digits, and Gladio and Noctis are together holding up 6 digits. I don't know what the 6 means, or it is in reference to. I have no idea. So, I just thought that was a cool picture. This is a cool picture, literally, because this is just seconds after Iggy has devastated the place with some ice magic. Or sorry, after he threw an ice ball to Noctis, and then Noctis devastated the place with some ice magic, which goes both ways, by the way. It can damage you and your enemies. So you've got to be careful about the magic in this game. It's devastating. And of course, some of these bad guys are just falling over dead. And I thought that was a pretty cool picture. Look, if Prompto's going to take a picture of Noctis driving like a granny, I'm going to save it. Because that is proper granny driving if ever I saw... Look at those wrists, mate. That is some anglage on those wrists. That is a granny driving position if ever I saw it. Ah, yes. Prompto about to get destroyed by Yojimbo. Now, Yojimbo is kind of a returning character as well. Yojimbo's usually a summon, or at least he was in Final Fantasy X. I don't know about other games. He's basically just like a samurai dude. So in this game, you meet these samurai monsters called Yojimbo, and if you don't know how to fight them, they mess you up. But then once you learn how to fight them, they're like the easiest thing on the planet. All you have to do is just wait for them to attack and then hit circle to counter-attack. Basically like Assassin's Creed. And, yeah, it's like... in fact, I think it's square on this game. But yeah, just counter-attack them and they go down in no time. But when I first started to fight them, they were so deadly. And I just thought it was funny when Prompto was this close to one. He was just like, I'm going to take a picture. And this weird enemy. I can't remember what that's called. It's some sort of, like, rhino pit bull. But, you know, it's there. And Prompto was like, time to snap a pic. Oh, the Tonberry. I'm always happy to see the Tonberry return, because Tonberry is one of those, like, legendary creatures that's always in Final Fantasy games. It's probably been in since the first game. I know they've been in for a while. I mean, you can Google these things. But yeah, Tonberries are crazy, because they very slowly walk towards you. But if they get close enough to hit you with that knife, it's over. Like, they will just one-shot you. You gotta watch out. But yeah, Tonberries are awesome. So when I saw a Tonberry in this game, and Prompto took a picture, I was like, oh, I'm keeping that one, son. Look at his burlap sack clothes, mate. That's so cool. And his little candle, holding it with no fingers and shit. Classic design. Another shot of a red giant looking absolutely badass. It looks like I've been fighting this thing all night because the sun is coming up. These things don't turn up during the daylight. At the bottom there, you can see Noctis just on the right, and then Iggy just on the left. Both going ham, trying to take this thing down. Now this thing, I don't recall what it's called, but it's basically like a T-Rex dragon thing. You'll see a different version of it later with like a different skin on it. But this one is sort of like a weird bug-looking one. And I wanted Prompto to get some good pictures, and that's the only one he got that was remotely good. Cactuar! Or sorry, to be more specific, Jumbo Cactuar. Now normally Jumbo Cactuars are like 30 stories. Normally Jumbo Cactuars are like 3 stories tall. In this game, Jumbo Cactuars look about 10, 12 feet tall. And the regular ones are still, I don't know, about 3 feet. But this shot is so awesome because number 1, it's got 2 giant cactuars in it. Number 2, Prompto is about to be ended by 10,000 needles or 1,000 needles. I don't know which. Those are the 2 moves that Cactuar does. But my favourite thing is obvious. I'm sure you've noticed it. The Cactuar in the background, because I love Cactuars because their face constantly looks like they've been caught doing something they shouldn't have, and they're trying to run away. That's what Cactuars are doing constantly. And that one in the background looks like he's been caught doing something he shouldn't have, and he's running away. I love Cactuars so much. Now you know why they're all over my goddamn car. Because I love Cactuars. I don't know if I mentioned it. I don't know if you, I don't know if... There was a video I made where I said I love Cactuar. What was it? My top 5 favourite Final Fantasy games? I don't know. Jumbo Cactuar? There you go. See, you get a better sense of scale there. So there's Iggy on the left. So yeah, these things are about... I don't know, about 12 feet tall, something like that. They're pretty massive. And they're fast. And Cactuars are awesome. This was us, once again, at the end of the world. There was like several points in this game when I was like, okay, well, I can't go any further. This was one of them. This is, I don't think this is that weird structure I saw in the background earlier in the game. You know, when I said, Ifrit and someone fought. In fact, I think this is where Ifrit and someone fought. I don't know what that other structure was, unless I'm in that structure. I'm confused, I don't remember. But we went up there. You better believe we went up that mountain. And nearby to this location is like the biggest and hardest dungeon in the game. And there's not really, like, it's not like this game's full of dungeons or anything. It's not like Skyrim. There's like a few dungeons in this game. But Pitios will forever be burned into the memory of anyone that wants to play this game and complete it. Because, like, I mean, it's totally optional. You don't have to do Pitios. Like, with most Final Fantasy games, you could bust through the story in, like, no time at all. But doing all the extra stuff, like getting 100% complete, getting the Platinum Trophy in this case, that takes time. And there's a dungeon here, like, you miss all sorts of super bosses and things if you just do the story. And there's a dungeon here called Pitios, and it took me, like, I don't know, it took me, like, 3-4 hours to get through this dungeon, and there is not a single enemy in it. It is pure puzzling and platform. That's all it is. It's pure puzzling and platform in a Final Fantasy game. Go figure. Yes, this was a behemoth. This was I think it's a special attack Noctis does, where he, like, when the behemoth is weakened, he jumps up on its horn and comes down on it with, like, a special hit or something. Anyway, that was me about to kick a behemoth's ass. This is Noctis riding on top of his car, going through a tunnel, and I believe that tunnel, based on the direction of the bend, I would say they're leaving leaving Lestalem, possibly heading back to the Wildlands to do a hunt, perhaps. Yes, Ignis does like his coffee, or what do they call it? Ebony in this game. I think it's either energy drink or it's canned coffee. I'm not quite sure, but it's one or the other. And Ignis likes it. He's like, look at the colours in that picture, man. They pop. This was up that mountain that I said we were going to climb. That mountain there. This is up there. And I thought there was going to be something really awesome at this specific spot, because you see all the lava underneath the ground and shit, and you think, oh, what's going to be here? And I think it was just like, oh, here's a fire resist ring or something. I don't even think they give you a cutscene for this bit. But I remember looking at it going, this looks like it's like a set piece place for a final boss or something. And it just wasn't. It was really weird. Pretty though. Promptos after combat. Nothing like a little bit of death. Snap. Although they're Magitech soldiers, so I don't remember if they're human or not. I don't know if they're humans infused with cyber magic, or if they're just robots. I don't know, but we fucked them up with some ice magic by the looks of all the ice on the ground. Of course, Gladio, Iris, and Noctis. I think this was when we were on our way to the lighthouse. That's that woman, I can't remember what her name is, but she turned up once and I fought her. That's all I remember about her. There's Iris again. Ah, yes, the Vesper Pool. Now, I think this might have been one of the... I think this was the first place I got Chocobos on this game. And Chocobos, put them in the same league as Tonberries and Cactuars, mate. They've got to be in a Final Fantasy game, and they're awesome every time they turn up. Chocobos are awesome. But there's no picture of a Chocobo here. But yeah, the Vesper Pool, that was a lot to kill around there. Still in the Vesper Pool, there's that woman that turns into Shiva, I think. Oh yeah, this woman here, her right there, on the right hand side there, you can see her. That's her. She's leading us to a dungeon, and I remember that dungeon, because I remember it only opens up at a certain time of the day, but you can't make the time pass quickly. You just can't, like, I think if you sleep in a hotel or a campsite and you wake up, it's always first thing in the morning. The trouble is, this door wouldn't open until like 9 PM or something. So I literally just had to, and there's nowhere near it to fast travel to or from, so I had to just stand outside the door and just wait until it was whatever time it needed to be for the door to open. That was annoying. It took so long. It was that door right there. You fucking door. I see you right there, mocking me. Anyway, this is that woman. She's like, hey, go in here. You'll forget me. Goodbye. And that's what we found in there. After going through like several layers of floors of enemies and stuff, we found Quetzalcoatl, which I'm sure has been in many more Final Fantasies, but the only instance I remember of Quetzalcoatl being in Final Fantasy was Quetzalcoatl was the first summon you get, or sorry, the first Guardian Force you get in Final Fantasy VIII. And Final Fantasy VIII is one of my favourites. So when I saw Quetzalcoatl, I was like, oh, that's cool, that's a reference, I like that. And of course it was a flying lightning thing. I killed it with no issue. There it is again, Prompto loving his really, like, not once did he get a good shot of this thing, he took that shot. He took this shot, which is like, what even am I looking at? And then this one, which is like, I think I'm looking at the back of it as it does a flyby. Look at Noctis's hair in the bottom left, in the bottom corner, corner, at the bottom. Look at his hair. It's being, it's all standing on end because the air is charged with electricity. Like, that's the kind of detail I want to see in games. That's awesome. Gladio and Iris having a bit of a sibling bonding time, I guess. It's so cool. All the characters in this game are so damn lovable, mate. Oh, it's so awful. Iris giving... she had a crush on Noctis. She was giving Noctis this Mog or Moogle doll. And I was like, thanks, but I don't like Mogs or Moogles. Look, there, I said it. I know it's heresy as a Final Fantasy fan to not like Mogs or Moogles, but I don't like them. I don't think they're fun to look at. I don't think it's cute the way they say Kupo, like every other word. I don't think it's cute or funny. Get them out of here. I like cactuars, I like tonberries, I like chocobos, but get this Mog Moogle crap out of my face. There's Noctis once again riding on his car. He's like, hey, what's up? Gotta get some pics for the gram. And this is when we got to Altitia. This was a fancy little cutscene where you turn up at this place called Altitia. It's pretty opulent and looking rather splendid in its architecture. This was our first evening in Altitia. We were like, hey, so like, is this a whole new area of the game to explore? And the game was like, no, not really, it's just a few streets. Oh, okay, that's weird. They showed this wedding dress of Lady Luna Freya, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, she's dead then. Because why would they do this? Why would they show this wedding dress? Like, the wedding was gonna happen, but the fact that they make you walk past this window and then they stop and give you a whole cutscene where the boys are looking at the wedding dress and they talk about her and stuff, I was like, they wouldn't do all this if we were then going to see her in the dress later. The wedding ain't gonna happen. I can tell just because this scene exists, therefore she's gonna die, and guess what? I was right. He's like, ah, man, these boat rides like Venice sure are long and tedious. Yes, I remember him. I think I spoke to him once or twice. I think he ran a pub. I think the only outstanding thing about him was that I think he was voiced by the guy that played Lee in Telltale's The Walking Dead. Ah, yes, there was her. She was some sort of, I think she was the president or prime minister of Altitia, and as the new leader of Insomnia, Noctis, because his father was murdered in that film that wasn't in the game, I had to, like, you know, hold a meeting with her and sort of lay out some terms and negotiate. That's what I had to do. I had to do some kingly negotiations with her, and I crushed it. Apparently that you cannot crush it, and things don't go so well, but I crushed it. I do like this action shot of Iggy with his daggers. He does love his daggers. Not sure what we're fighting here. It's nighttime, so it's probably an iron giant. I mean, there's a red giant. It's probably a red giant then, since we were at this stage. And look how big that thing is, boys. Look! And that flame, I can't get over that flame sword. It's so badass. He's like, you want a piece? And we were like, yes. Iris getting Noctis some flowers, and he's like, look, you know I was supposed to get married. Why you give me some flowers? This was at the lighthouse that we were heading to earlier. I like the way that Gladio is just in the back, completely hidden. He's like, don't mind me, I don't need to be in this shot. Gladio capping a Yojimbo in a sewer somewhere. It looks like Yojimbo was about to try and hurt Gladio, and Gladio said no, using his giant sword. That was me using some sort of lightning strike on a behemoth, and the behemoth does not like it, clearly. Devastating with that lightning. Oh, yes, this is a cup noodle dish that I had Iggy made using, I think, using steak from that behemoth that I killed, because you kill it and you get some meat, and then it goes, and then once I killed it, Iggy was like, aha, I've discovered a new recipe, or whatever he says. And then he made that, and I was like, sweet. Cup noodle with behemoth steak. A nice balcony shot of Altissia. You know, it's just like your generic Italian city. Just generic, nothing abnormal about it. That was me after I crushed the negotiations. I was like, yeah, let's do this. Look at, like, this is Leviathan, right? When Leviathan turned up, and it turned up, and it said, like, why should I fucking listen to you? And then you have this epic boss fight with it, where you end up, like, flying near the end of it. And I was like, this reminds me a lot of that Chaos fight at the end of Sonic Adventure 1. But look how tiny Noctis is. Look, he's just hanging off the cheek of Leviathan. And Leviathan's like, okay, maybe you've proven yourself worthy, I'll help. That was such a cool scene. There's that woman again, the old Shiva woman. This was us outside some old ruins, just about to go in and probably find nothing of use. A bomb! Of course, bombs are just as classic as cactuars and things. I always forget about bombs. Bombs are awesome. Annoying, but awesome. That was Noctis simply blocking a move from a Yojimbo, and you can see the magical shockwave. Yojimbo's like, this is my fatal strike, and Noctis goes not so fast. Meanwhile, Iggy's off to the side there, going, should I come up with a new recipe? Yes, Iggy, always come up with a new recipe. Here's that dragon thing I was telling you about earlier, where Prompto took a picture of one earlier, but it kind of looked like an insect, but he didn't get any good shots of it. This is just a reskinned version of that, basically. So I said, you better get a lot of pictures, because we ain't going to come back here. So he got that picture. Great. Although it's a good picture of Gladiolus. Another picture of the old Dragonicus. And another one. They're not great pictures, but it was those or nothing. This reminds me of Guarma from Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm not entirely sure why. But it just does. I think that was the Vesper Pool near the Chocobo place. I don't recall where this is. I was going through these pictures earlier. I don't remember where this is. But it's another one of those flying bird dragon things. See, there it is. Look at the lighting there. It's so cool. Just looks great. And then yet another picture of it. I don't know what this is. I mean, is it Quetzalcoatl? Did we come back to that? Did we come back to that place and get more pictures of Quetzalcoatl? We might have. I think that might be what this is. It would explain the electricity. I think that's what this is. I think I tried to get him to get some better shots of Quetzalcoatl, and he still wanted to take shots like this. He's like, no, I want it to look like it's from Dark Souls. And I'm like, well, you fucking nailed it with this picture then, mate. But here we go, another colourful picture again, stopping off at some motel somewhere. The boy's looking happy. Noctis kind of looking a bit nonplussed, but, you know, whatever. Chocobos, I want to ride my chocobo all day. Chocobos are awesome, mate. They're like... I mean, whenever I try to explain it to someone, I'm like, imagine an ostrich, except instead of ugly, it was really beautiful and had golden feathers. That's a chocobo. Chocobos are awesome, so I had to keep that picture. That was a sweet picture, taken in the shadow of some peak at some roadside motel. I think this picture looks like it. Yeah, it looks like there's some sort of tree beast in the background. I don't recall tree beasts in this game, but they must have been there because that looks like a tree beast. And Prompto's like, what better time for a picture of a tree beast? The crow's nest, of course, with Eddie Crow. Gotta respect the guys that fed us. Gotta respect them. Represent even. Here's that dragon again. So I guess after telling Prompto we weren't gonna come back down here, I guess we did go back down there for some reason. That was not just looking dirty AF, because that might have been when I went 2 weeks without going to bed to save up all that experience. And look at that sweet cactuar ride in the background. The cactuar is looking on point there. That was a Yojimbo thing in a power reactor. I don't think it's nuclear, but it's some sort of power reactor. Hence why we're wearing hazmat suits. But we killed the fuck out of that Yojimbo looking motherfucker. He didn't last long. This is Prompto. I like this picture for two reasons. Number one, Prompto's like, how do I load this goddamn gun? Like, what is this? And the second reason is, who took this picture? Because Prompto is meant to be taking them all. Maybe he set it up on a timer. He's like, I'm going to look confused and then take a picture. I'm not sure where this was, but it's a picture of Noctis looking concerned at something, so I thought I'll keep that one. That's pretty cool. Ah, yes, the Marlboro. See, those of you unfamiliar with the Marlboro might not be able to recognize it from... Well, you wouldn't recognize it if you're unfamiliar with it, would you? Haha, what a fool I am. Anyway, it's a Marlboro. The next picture is a little bit better. It's really hard to get a picture of a Marlboro that's still alive, because when they're alive, they are pretty dangerous. because they're always dangerous in all the Final Fantasy games. Usually when a Marlboro turns up, before you have a chance to do anything, it will do a move that causes multiple status effects on your party, usually including things like Berserk and Confusion, which mean that you don't get to control your character. They will just attack uncontrollably, and they will attack randomly, and then your party just kills itself, and you didn't have a chance to protect yourself. That's why Marlboros are deadly. This is some skeleton-looking motherfucker about to taste the wrath of Gladiolus. Look, he thinks he's got a one-up on Iggy. He's like, hey, shirt man, I'm gonna get you. And Gladiolus is like, hey, skeleton man, I don't fucking think so. Nice shot there, Prompto. He's like, yeah, I want to take a picture of my face. That was me about to stab some... I think that was the brother of Luna Freya. He turned into a mutated monster for some reason, so I had to put him down. Yeah, there he is. He's like, hey, I'm back, baby, from something. And I'm like, guess I'll kill you then. Don't even remember your name. I had to keep this picture because that imp's like, aha, off to cause more mischief. He didn't. He died. We killed everyone there. And this was the Certificate of Completion. Look at that. 144 hours, which might seem a lot, because you can Google Certificates of Completion, and a lot of people have way lower, but you have to understand, I was actually just getting shit done on this game. I'm not generally a rusher of games. I don't sit there and go, boom, I'm just going to blast through the story as fast as possible. I like to soak it all in. So by the time I finished the actual story, I had done everything that could be done before you finish the story. So all the hunts, those are there's not a huge amount in terms of side stuff to do in this game, but there's a lot of hunts that you can do, and that basically is all the side stuff of the game. Just travel to various locations and kill various enemies. And there's so many hunts, and I did all the hunts. There's some you can't do until after you finish the story, so that's why I said that I did everything you can do up until the end of the story. So there was that, 144 hours, and I chose this picture because it's a great picture. Like I said, it really just encapsulates the journey the boys were on. They had fun, good times, and I think this is the picture. I think at the end of the game, just before the final battle, you're going through Prompto's pictures again, just to remind you of all your adventures, and you have to pick a picture out, and I think he gives it to the boys because they all know he's not coming back from this. Spoilers. I had the whole ending spoiled for me months before I even finished it, because some guy was on the Final Fantasy 15 subreddit, and his username was Noctis dies at the end, and he was just going around commenting Noctis dies at the end. So it was unavoidable. I saw that and I was like, you're joking, aren't you? And then of course the end of the game came and they were like, oh no, just so you know, boys, I'm not going to survive the final battle. And of course there was a really emotional moment, and I was just sat there going, I already knew this because that cunt spoiled it for me. But anyway, 30th of July? Yes, July. 30th of July, 2017. 144 hours. So yeah, there's that. That's the end of my pictures. There's the end of my pictures for Final Fantasy 15. Delete. Don't worry, I've got them saved elsewhere. And I will close this. Now look at that, this video's gone on for long. Alright then, boys. Well, thank you for putting up with this and paying attention to these pictures and listening to the prattlings on of this old man. And I will say, subscribe and hit like and follow me on Twitch and other stuff and things. And I will say peace and Final Fantasy Chocobo Cactuar Grease. Pardon me.